In today's fragmented media landscape, nothing drives results like local media, and Locality is proving it. Locality's Local X platform is redefining local video advertising by centralizing premium streaming solutions into a simple, data-driven workflow. Local X puts real-time planning, scalable reach, and measurable results at your fingertips. Discover how Local X makes planning local media fast, easy, and intuitive at locality.com/localx.
Hello, this is Jack Neff, editor-at-large of Ad Age, and welcome to our latest edition of the Marketer's Brief podcast, our weekly discussion about marketing news and trends. Chris Curtin came to Sam's Club in May, just over a month after the retailer named Publicis Groupe to take on creative and media duties. That, and arriving just before work started on Sam's Club's holiday campaign, meant he had to hit the ground running. Here, Curtin, a veteran of marketing at Bank of America and Visa, talked about how he managed that situation and the new holiday campaign he oversaw almost immediately. Sam's Club, a big retailer that's the little sibling of Walmart, has had years of strong growth despite turnover in the C-suite and agencies in recent years. That includes 3 chief marketers and 3 sets of agencies just since 2021. Curtin talks about the underlying strength that's driven Sam's through all that and why he believes the future is brighter still. Chris, you came to Sam's Club in June, I think, end of June, with a lot of experience really in financial services. What made you decide to come to retail?
I actually joined at the very end of May. I came to Sam's Club because of the opportunity and also the culture. I was really struck by both of those being extraordinary. And I bought in the vision, I bought into kind of our roadmap. At kind of my stage in my career, I think you're trying to intersect what perhaps you do really well with what perhaps someone needs. And I just felt like it was a great match at the right moment and the right time for both of us.
How can you apply what you learned at Bank of America and Visa to Sam's Club?
Well, I think every brand in the marketplace is both who you are today and who you have the right to be tomorrow. And you're trying to put like a red thread between those two destinations. And so that's really no different than, Visa and Bank of America, and in some instances, Sam's Club. In the instance of Visa, we were trying to move from a company that was focused on payments to a company that was focused on the movement of money, kind of a larger, broader category. And you want to have kind of a growth mindset that's anchored in value. And I think you find that you feel that at Sam's Club, and it's very, very resonant. So while the categories might be different, many times the aspirations are very similar.
Now, you had to hit the ground running, really, arriving around mid-year at a retailer with the holidays approaching. Was that difficult?
Well, it was definitely like a day zero feeling. I absolutely feel it. And I think, with hindsight being 2020, I'm not sure I would have traded it because it was a full engagement and full embrace of, what was happening with the business and where we wanted to take it. And I think, with hindsight being 2020, it's just what I needed. And I feel like better equipped to help contribute to where we're going as a result.
You also came in right after the completion of an agency review with a new set of agencies. So really, you and the agencies were kind of onboarding at the same time. What was that like?
Well, I knew Publicis pretty well because Publicis is the agency of record for Bank of America as well. But, and I've always been struck by Artur and the approach that he brings to not just Publicis, but kind of a whole of Publicis approach that, they describe as member one, where they bring the best assets, regardless of which sub-agency or which boutique might sit in the portfolio to bear against a client's needs. Because clients are dynamic, we're agile, and what you may be on one day, you may need something different on a different day. And so I think Publicis does that uniquely well, and that comes straight from the top in his leadership vision and leadership style. So it was rather comfortable for me in that respect. And I played no role in the selection of Publicis at Sam's Club, but I was thrilled that that's where they had landed in terms of that process.
So that being the case, I would imagine you're not planning to call another review anytime soon, correct?
No, we need to focus kind of as one team and on the path ahead, and we feel pretty committed to that path. And so I know Publicis has the exact same vision and the exact same view.
Sam's really has been on a very nice run for years with a fair amount of turnover among chief marketers and agencies. What do you think has been the secret of Sam's Club's success as you look back over it?
Oh, I mean, I think Sam's Club has just the best heritage. Like when you go into the archives and you really study, what led to the formation of Sam's Club, you're just struck by this kind of maverick philosophy that kind of permeated the early days of Sam's Club. And I think some of the actions that they've taken historically have been best in category, best in breed, best in the marketplace. And that's still kind of like courses through the veins of Sam's Club culture and, our associates. And speaking of associates, Jack, it was, I think, my second week in Bentonville when we had our Associates Week / shareholder meeting in Fayetteville. And I mean, I'd never seen anything quite like it. The culture, the enthusiasm, the investments that associates were making in one another. We had associates come from all over the world in the instance of Walmart and all over the United States and beyond in the instance of Sam's Club. But it's something to behold if you haven't seen it in person. And I'm not even sure if I described it verbally that you would fully believe it. You got to experience it in person.
You've got a holiday campaign coming up, I understand. Tell me about what you have planned.
Yeah, so we want to win the holidays, to be really clear, and we want to be a leader in this space. And so we are incredibly excited about getting out there into the market with, a new piece of creative, a new platform for us. But the holidays really start in October and November and December, and they are meant to like build off of one another. So our platform is consistent and it will remain the same from October to November to December, even though the seasons will change, obviously, over that time span. Within Sam's Club, we think we have a bias. We know we have a bias towards positivity, towards optimism, towards this kind of can-do culture. And our members tell us this, our associates tell us this. And I think, those who kind of walk into a club, you feel it. And as a result, we decided to create this platform that is anchored in yes and yes being kind of a way to organize whether, what a member or a consumer might need or want for the holidays, and the and being the secret sauce that Sam's Club brings to the equation, whether it's on the basis of convenience, whether it's on the basis of value, or whether it's on the basis of customer service. And we balance those two things in a way that I think is really creative, really light, really compelling. One of my favorite stories as I was onboarding is I went to a number of different colleagues who've been here for a while and really, really knew the culture in a way that was kind of an intimate knowledge of it. And so, when we sat down and talked about different stories, and of course, I asked the question of like, just what makes Sam's Club so unique and what makes it so special? And the person I asked has been at Walmart for quite a long time. And he said, it's probably stories like this. And he shared one story with me, which was he went out and visited the clubs. And that's what a lot of the home office does on Wednesdays and Thursdays during the course of the week. They travel and we travel and we go to different clubs, different markets, different regions. And in one of these examples, they had gone to a market, and this gentleman asked the manager, like, how are things going? And the manager shared a story about a longtime member who was multi-generational, who had come into the bakery and had asked for a cake, which was a tradition of that family's that they give out for graduations. But the cake was ready, the cake was there. The member could have easily left with that cake, no problems there. But the member sat back and said, you know what? I think I'm going to come back tomorrow. And the reason why they decided to come back tomorrow is because the associate who for many years had sold that very same family the cake was not at work that day. And her name was Teresa. And so the member told our associate, well, I'll just come back when Teresa is working in order to get that cake. And that secret sauce, that uniqueness of the Sam's Club culture is something that we're so proud of. In fact, we've baked, that's probably not the best use of that word, but we've baked that story into some of the creative that we're going to be bringing to market with and through, a pretty big star, which is Chris Pratt. And, he's going to be the face of our campaign this holiday season.
Coming up next, we'll talk about some more details about the holiday campaign.
Simplify your local media planning with Locality's Local X, the only platform that centralizes local streaming planning and buying into one powerful interface. Local X offers real-time status tracking, cross-platform attribution, and geo-targeted insights, helping advertisers cut through the noise and connect with local viewers at scale. Local X is where local meets scale, intelligence, and results. Visit locality.com/localx.
Well, tell me about working with Chris Pratt, why he was chosen, and what he was like to work with.
He was so good. We just had a shoot with him in California, and we actually shoot these spots in the creative overnight. So in the hours when the club is closed, and that gives us kind of free reign of the club and allows us to be able to get all of the different shots that we need without disturbing any member's experience during the day. And he just had such a joyful attitude. And he obviously knew all about Sam's Club and it was a big fan of who we are and who we aspired to be. But we wanted someone who was all American. We wanted someone who could embrace the holidays in a really authentic and endemic way. We wanted someone who could speak to multiple generations. We wanted someone who could do some parts of comedy, but also kind of expose all of the different things that we offer, either whether it's a product or whether it's a service or whether it's a feature or a benefit to Sam's Club. And so we really needed kind of an agile personality in that regard. And he just crushed it. I mean, this is a focus group of one, obviously, but I just think he absolutely crushed it. We're looking at the work which is now in market, and obviously we feel that, and hopefully our members feel it too.
Overall, what media will the campaign be playing out in?
There will be some television for sure. There's also going to be a lot of digital and a lot of social. And, so much of what we do at Sam's Club starts with the app and with Scan and Go. And so we are also thinking about being in those form factors, but our flighting schedule and our media plan is based on member sentiment and member preferences. So we try to put our message before our members, knowing that our members are the best advocates of Sam's Club.
Sam's, unlike some other club stores, in recent years particularly, has done more media advertising. Why has that worked, and is that something that you're going to continue?
Yeah, I hope so. I just think we have a great message, and it's tied to this culture that I think is really unique and special. And so, as far as I'm concerned, the more that we can get our message out there, the better. There are things that we do that you could get from other companies, but the way we do it, I think, is what makes us so unique and so special. And I think the story of Teresa, represents kind of what makes Sam's Club so unique. I mean, we have members who come after church services on Sunday, we after soccer matches on Saturday. It's a routine for them. It's part of their weekend playbook and set play. And our associates look forward to seeing many of the same faces, when they come into the club. And so to be able to get that message out during this season is really important from a marketing perspective.
One of the fastest growing parts of media overall certainly is retail media, and you work alongside a media organization of your own with Member Access Platform. What are some of the ways you envision working together with MAP?
Well, I think, every marketer has a lot of expectations on them to ensure that marketing is an investment, not just a cost, and that marketing is causal, not just correlated to outcomes that the management team cares about. And so retail media is just a great platform and a great channel through which big brands, big advertisers can see a ROAS that they, can take back to their management team and let that management team have confidence that those budgets are being well spent. And, it's certainly something that we participate in, and it's also something that we offer as a discrete service.
You've got, I think, a growing portion of your shopper base that interfaces with you digitally in some way, shape, or form. And one of the big ways that happens is scan and go, which is a great asset. I've used it myself a lot in stores. But I wonder sometimes why more people aren't using it when I'm shopping. And I was wondering if you have any plans to increase usage of that tool and some of the other digital capabilities that you have.
Well, for sure in digital, but starting with scan and go, I mean, I don't think it's just a feature or benefit. I think it's also just institutional and now cultural within Sam's Club. I mean, it's incredible that Sam's Club kind of had that vision and then acted on it. I know a lot of companies that might have been timid about, rethinking that part of the experience, but I think it's ultimately tied to the trust that we have in our members and the belief that we have that the club is actually the members club. And, when you're in a club, there's an element of trust. And I think that was part of the genesis of the idea. It wasn't just innovation. It wasn't just kind of a new way to think of fintech. It was really kind of an outgrowth of the concept of trust, which I think is at the core in many respects of the experience that you feel at a Sam's Club. In terms of digital, I don't think it's just scan and go. I mean, I think we're thinking about how we revolutionize so many different things within and on behalf of Sam's Club, including in marketing. And that's one of the reasons why we've frankly doubled, if not tripled down on the creator community. We don't feel like the creator community is just another channel or just another way to communicate. It actually could be like the future of marketing, and particularly in retail, but I would even argue beyond retail. And so I think that at the end of the day, we're super proud of what we've done. We're over 2,500 creators. We're driving substantial traffic to samsclub.com. And the coolest part of it for me, beyond just the stats, is, you're seeing it with influencers, you're seeing it with creators. They feel like it's their Sam's Club. They picked us, we picked them. There's kind of a dopamine effect in that respect. But it's just a kind of bold new chapter for marketing and for big brands like Sam's Club.
You've also found ways to get your members involved in product reviews, product development, ideation in ways that other retailers really haven't. Is that an asset that you're hoping to use more?
I mean, that's the core of Members Mark is really, to help have our members shape, what we do and why we do it and how we do it. And we think it will ultimately influence not just like the products within Members Mark, but the entire Sam's Club experience and maybe even beyond. So, again, that's one of those that's a story within the larger portfolio of Sam's Club that we're quite proud of, and we think we do it distinctively, uniquely, and we also think that there's just a lot of opportunity ahead of us. We're super proud of the made without element of Members Mark that we feel like we were one of the first to market on, and there's also opportunity above and beyond what we've done to date.
In terms of the shopper experience and the tech, Sam's just seems to be well ahead of some of your most direct competitors in the club space. If you're looking at the checkout towers, scan and go, a retail media program, you were some distance ahead of the competition. Is that something that you think is going to help you gain additional traction in the years ahead?
I just think it's like, again, part of our DNA now. And so there's like this bias towards like, what's next? What could we be doing better? So it's not just like, hey, let's make sure Scan and Go is, moves from 3.0 to 4.0 and it's like incrementing its way to a better state. It's just a culture within the management team, within our associates on constantly thinking through what would make for a better experience. And that bias that I mentioned at the front end of our discussion about why not? Like, let's go. There's a can-do aspect to it. And I think when you think about it kind of through a horizontal lens, not a vertical lens, I think that's when it can be really inspiring.
You bring in certainly with your experience in financial services, a lot of experience in personalization, certainly. Is that something that you think Sam's can do more of.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's just platforms or channels. And, I think it's kind of an intimacy that we have with our membership. And, with every interaction, my hope and expectation is that we're curating experiences that reflect your interest. And we almost have like a progressive disclosure, commitment. And you tell us more about you and we will build the Sam's Club for you. Our view is we want to have a club of the community and we want to have a club of the member. Like if you take that double click down and, it feel very, very personal to you. And we know we do it on the human side. We know we do it on the tech side, including, some of the things we've already discussed, but we always know we can do a better job. And that's kind of the fuel that keeps us, moving in the right direction here.
One thing I noticed on your LinkedIn that just piqued my curiosity was that you're on the Spotify Marketing Advisory Council. Tell me a little bit about that and why you do it and what you've brought out of it.
Well, I love Spotify and I love the team over at Spotify. And before Sam's Club, I worked on bringing to market a project with Jim Farley and Ford about called Drive, which is a podcast and was basically started as an idea to give the audience an over-the-shoulder look into the day in the life of a CEO. But then he pushed us to expand it to, drive, meaning like the intensity to succeed, but also drive because he obviously races race cars as a pastime and he oversees Ford. And so I've gotten to know Spotify really well, but they also have an advisory board where they bring in different CMOs and they talk about, Daniel talks about the future of podcasting, which he calls a slow cook medium, but also we talk about, new subscription services and ways to market. And it's just, in marketing, particularly with AI, you gotta be a constant learner and you gotta have kind of a liberal arts bias. And that board helps me do that.
Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks very much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
That was Chris Curtin, CMO of Sam's Club, and I'm Jack Neff, editor-at-large of Ad Age. I'd like to thank our producer, Lauren Ciardio, and invite you to subscribe to the Marketer's Brief podcast on your favorite player.
Marketer's Brief listeners get $40 off an adage.com subscription. Sharpen your marketing edge and visit adage.com/brief for your discount.